If you look at the postings on TikTok and the number of mentions of Palestinians relative to other social media sites, it's overwhelmingly so among TikTok broadcasts. So I'd note that's of real interest, and the president will get the chance to make action in that regard.
That's the thing I don't understand. Like, in terms of people just defending this like TikTok ban, okay? Defending this TikTok ban while simultaneously operating under this notion that, like, well, the Chinese government does it too. Okay, you have an issue with the Chinese government. You're an American. You're not Chinese. And you're advocating for the American government to do so as well. Like, it makes no goddamn sense to me. Here, let's listen to this this private correspondence within Jonathan Greenblatt and the ADL. That's why he's still tweeting about you? Wait, he's still tweeting about me? It is pretty crazy that this man has spent a good deal of time tweeting about me as, you know, one of the leaders of the most significant institutions in the United States of America combating anti-Semitism, supposedly, in air quotes, anti-Semitism. I saw one from like a day ago. Wait, really? It is pretty wild that oh, because Bernie was on my stream. What did he say? Yeah, Bernie was being anti-Semitic, huh? Me and Bernie, just two anti-Semites. A lot of people seem to view you as a dangerous anti-Semite. No, that is what's so disgusting about this. No one, and I mean no one, sincerely believes that I am anti-Semitic. That is so incredibly insane. No one actually believes that I am sincerely anti-Semitic. The amount of time and effort that I have spent actively combating anti-Semitism, the fact that anyone would actually entertain the notion that I am even remotely anti-Semitic is so psychotic. And that's what's so insane about this. What's so insane about it is that this is a pure fabrication. It is a very cynical weaponization. It's not that I am anti-Semitic. It's that I'm anti-Israel. That is what is terrifying. It's so frustrating, dude. The idea that Bernie Sanders would voluntarily sit for an interview with Hasan Piker, an individual who routinely has used his platform to spread anti-Jewish tropes, amplify propaganda from a designated terrorist group, and promote toxic anti-Zionism says an awful lot about the senior senator from Vermont and the normalization of anti-Semitism. Like, if my girlfriend saw that tweet, she would just assume it's true. Okay, let me explain this one more time. I'm saying that Jonathan Greenblatt, who is familiar with my game, okay, does not sincerely believe that I am anti-Semitic. Maybe other people who don't know who I am hear Jonathan Greenblatt say this and think that, but the people that make a big fuss about this sort of thing they do not actually think I'm anti-Semitic. I know for a fact that Jonathan Greenblatt does not think I'm anti-Semitic. He is simply utilizing anti-Semitism allegations in an effort to combat his true fears. Someone who is not anti-Semitic, who is actually saying correct things about Israel. I am, in that respect, a much larger villain for Jonathan Greenblatt than someone who is deeply anti-Semitic but pro-Israel. Between me and the likes of Ann Coulter, who is deeply and unconditionally pro-Israel, while also simultaneously incredibly anti-Semitic, I am a far greater threat. You want to know why? Because his nieces and nephews tune in and listen to me talk about Israel and go, hey, I know this guy's not anti-Semitic, and I think he's making a lot of good points. That is infinitely more terrifying. Do you understand? That's it. That's the real problem here. As a matter of fact, I'll take it one step further. If I was outwardly anti-Semitic and also anti-Israel, I would not present as big as a threat to someone like Jonathan Greenblatt, because you can immediately point out someone like that for being insane. This is why the likes of Dan Bilzerian and even Candace Owens sometimes get a lot more motion in mainstream institutions and mainstream media, because you can so easily just go, well, look at that guy. They're talking about the importance of the importance of like how this is so directly related to Judaism or whatever, and the cabal and the Jewish cabal and the elite pedophiles or whatever. That's it. For someone like Jonathan Greenblatt, especially because they have a very short-term benefit attitude when it comes down to things like this. Someone like myself, or God forbid, even scarier, an outspoken anti-Zionist Jew, is significantly more terrifying. An anti-Zionist Jew, or an anti-Zionist who's not Jewish, but certainly goes against anti-Semitism and routinely combats anti-Semitism, is absolutely worse than someone who is overtly anti-Semitic and also anti-Israel. 100%. Let's finish this video.
Again, like we've been chasing this left-right divide. It's the wrong game. The real game is the next generation. And the Hamas and their accomplices, the useful idiots in the West, are falling in line in ways that are terrifying. Last thing I'll just say, we saw a dramatic change in the language of the activists here in America on October the 8th. The language of groups that we've long tracked, who've long been problematic, like Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voices for Peace.
The funniest aspect of this kind of conversation is that, like, they'll say things like, well, they're saying the same things that Hamas is saying. They're saying the same things that Iran is saying, not recognizing that actually, for many people, unironically, legitimizes the perspective. If your goal is to undermine Hamas, or if your goal is to undermine Iran, you cannot actually present their perspective as the valid one in terms of Israel. But instead of trying to separate, if I was to do propaganda for Israel, which that's what the Apartheid Defense League is there to do, historically at least, you know, in the 90s, they quite literally got into trouble for spying on Jewish anti-apartheid activists and collaborating with the apartheid South African government. Okay, just, you know, that's what the ADL was doing. Okay, the Apartheid Defense League. But if your goal is to solidify the obviously, you know, anti-Hamas perspective that is broad in the United States of America, or the anti-Iran perspective that is very popular in the United States of America, then you can't hand it to them. You know what I mean? You can't present them as the only people that are saying Israel is doing a genocide to us. Because the reality of the matter there is, for many people, when they see what's going on, they go, oh my God, this is unlimited bloodshed. This is unlimited brutality happening with our tax dollars. You have to present a reasonable position. This is why I've always maintained the position that, like, liberal Zionism, to a certain respect, is supposed to give Israel much more bandwidth to be cruel and maintain the apartheid. But people supercharge their attitudes, their anti-Palestinian sentiment, their anti-Arab sentiment, their Islamophobic sentiment in the aftermath of October 7, and forgot that, like, that is the way you're supposed to do propaganda to the West. Just completely cast that aside. That's why one of the most dangerous weapons against pro-Israeli sentiment and Hasbara is the translate from Hebrew button, okay? This person has no way of comprehending that for many people like myself, they had at least some understanding. Well, not myself, but like many others had at least some crumb of understanding of the dynamic there with the apartheid. And of course, immediately we're like, this is only happening because of 75 years of occupation, brutal occupation. What do you think is more likely? That people have an accurate assessment of Israeli history and settler colonial violence, or that Hamas and Iran deployed a multi-million-dollar propaganda operation completely without, like, the American State Department ever figuring it out? This complex multi-million-dollar propaganda operation to brainwash the American public. What do you think is what happened? And also, if that's the case, are Israeli historians like Ilan Pappé or Avi Shalom, are they also operating with Hamas propaganda in mind? People like Norm Finkelstein, they're all doing Hamas and Iranian propaganda. They're getting paid by Iran and Hamas. It's even funnier to say that they're being paid by Hamas. Like, Iran at least is a nation state in and of itself, but Hamas is a resistance group that was born out of endless occupation and works within the confines of a concentration camp. They have very limited motion outside. Yeah, Noam Chomsky being paid by the Iranian state and Hamas. Gabor Mate, Holocaust survivor, being paid by the Iranian state and Hamas. Or maybe plenty of these scholars, plenty of these academics that have spent their entire lives documenting the atrocities have come to this conclusion because they have a moral compass that allows them to see right from wrong and aren't simply invested in the maintenance of an apartheid, settler colonial apartheid state.
Entity and lots of other language that we recognized from Iranian propaganda.
I'm confused by this. Why are they shadowboxing? Ignoring reality won't help them achieve their goals. No, ignoring reality and suppressing any kind of like information that counters the Hasbara narratives has been incredibly effective for 76 years. Or, well, at least for like 74, 75 years. It's this last year, or since 2021, I would say, where things have started changing. Major U.S. Jewish groups backed bipartisan bill like a see TikTok ban. Jewish federations in North America says it supports the proposed law due to concerns of anti-Semitism proliferating on the platform. Not on Twitter, by the way. Anti-Semitism proliferating on TikTok. Now, I'm not going to tell you that anti-Semitism hasn't been proliferating on TikTok. It certainly has. Sometimes I'll see like a new dog whistle that I didn't even know existed was 127. And I had to dive a little bit deeper into figuring out what this meant. But I saw this like dude doing like, not my autism score, dummies. I think it's 127,000 or something like that. That's a new dog whistle. I don't even know if the ADL database has it, but I didn't know what it was at first. I was like, why are people saying 127,000, or maybe it's a different number, something along those lines. But it turns out they're saying that, or 217, is it 217 or 271? It's not it's not 127, it's 271. Yeah, it's 271. It's 271. Sorry. That dog whistle is the Holocaust revisionist, Holocaust denial dog whistle that claims that only 271,000 Jews were killed. It's a dog whistle to deny the 6 million number. Yeah, that's the new dog whistle. And I found out about this dog whistle from TikTok, as a matter of fact. I saw the dog whistle on TikTok and I was like, what the hell is this number? Yeah, it's also kind of, it's still insane that they're just saying like only 270,000 Jews were killed, not 6 million. Oh, okay. Like, I mean, it's already incorrect, but even then it's like a psychotic thing to say that is like supposedly acceptable. Like, what is the argument here? But anyway, listen. The point is, TikTok, of course, also has anti-Semitic sentiment, but which platform do you think has more open, overt anti-Semitic sentiment than TikTok? It's Twitter. And I've never heard Jonathan, I've never heard the Apartheid Defense League go after Twitter. As a matter of fact, after Elon Musk openly seconded one of the most common Nazi ideals, the notion that Jews are doing unlimited third world immigration into the Western world to destroy Western superiority, when he said, "You have said the truth," to that argument on his own platform that he owns, on his own platform that he's unbanned every single Nazi on, Jonathan went up to him and was like, "Yo, you got to be pro-Israel, dog. What's this about?" And Elon Musk was like, "No, I love Israel." And Jonathan Greenblatt was like, "Yeah, Elon is he's a good guy," and defended him. It was so ridiculous. This moment and this argument, this glaringly obvious instance of the Apartheid Defense League refusing to actually combat anti-Semitism, but instead working to, defend the apartheid, was so frustrating that the previous president of the ADL was like, what the fuck are you doing to Jonathan Greenblatt? The previous president of ADL, who's also not exactly a good guy either, you know? Even he was like, dog, what are you doing? When Donald Trump was like, if I lose, it's because of the Jews. I've given everything to you, Jews. Why won't you actually give back to me for once? I've given you Israel. I've given you everything. Jonathan Greenblatt, nothing. Just like a subtle nod, being like, Mr. President, Mr. Trump, sir, you have said something that maybe is being misunderstood. I apologize for even criticizing you, but dude, TikTok is not anti-Semitic. All the Gaza stuff just got shared a lot. No. I'm not saying TikTok is like overwhelmingly anti-Semitic. I'm saying that every platform has a decent amount of anti-Semitism in it, TikTok included, of course. But if there's one platform that you could designate as the most anti-Semitic platform, it's Twitter. Like open neo-Nazi shit goes viral on this platform virtually every single day, where there's another gif of like Adolf Hitler and people are like, we have to apologize to him. Anyway, I think the cold feet around the TikTok ban reflects that there never really was any specific security fear around it, but beyond, it's a weird Chinese app, Chinese-owned app that's popular. And that's true.